It is Monday, January 21st. Some baseball news coming up today. G&T Sports Talk. We got some big news surrounding Sonny Gray. And we got some signings for the Yankees and a bunch more. I'm Bobby Thompson.
I'm Julian Gallardi. And yeah, it's been an interesting week for the Yankees. But before I get into that, we got to welcome our guest, Jeremy Baum, on the phone. What's up, man?
Hey guys, how are you?
What's going on, buddy?
Good. I just was curious to see your take on the whole Sonny Gray situation, what ended up happening. We finally get this done today. He's gone. He's in Cincinnati now. So I just want to know what you think of the whole thing and like everything that happens in New York, I guess.
Sure. Well, I mean, the trade, what seemed to be a minor trade in the beginning, has turned into a much more complex trade. At the end of the day, Sonny Gray did sign an extension with the Reds. It turns out the terms are 3 years, $30.5 million, covering 2020 through 2022, with a club option for 2023 at $12 million, and a $500K bonus escalators for any pitch. This is a big win for the Reds, in my opinion. The stats bear out the fact that Sonny Gray did not perform well at Yankee Stadium. However, outside of the confines of the Bronx, he was his typical excellent self. And as been shown by the acquisitions the Reds have made this year with one-year contract players such as Alex Wood and Tanner Roark, they are having a little trouble attracting pitchers to the hitter's ballpark, that is Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. So by having Sonny Gray locked in for 3 years in addition to the season that he's already under control for right now, I think this is a good win for the Reds. In return, they do give up their sixth best prospect, Shed Long, second baseman, good hitter, good plate discipline, core defender, who was then subsequently flipped by Brian Cashman to the Mariners for a prospect of their own, who is Josh Stowers, an outfielder, and their second-round pick from last year. And I guess the big notable part about that minor swap is that Shed Long required a 40-man roster spot, while Stowers did not. So by getting a guy who does not require a 40-man spot, the Yankees free up a little bit of roster flexibility while trading away a pitcher that they really wanted to trade away from the beginning of the offseason. So I think for all parties involved, it ended up being a good trade. The Yankees get, in addition to all of this, they get a draft pick next year in the second round, and they do receive a high-end prospect as well.
Yeah, so what do you think about the guy we got from Seattle? I don't know anything about him. You surprised me with that before the show even started. So I'm not sure if we even got a chance to look, but what's your view of him, if you have one, I guess?
Sure. So he's a right-handed outfielder out of the University of Louisville. He was drafted in the second round of the 2018 draft by the Mariners. He's only played 1 year. He's still young, 21 years old. He did hit 260 with a 380 on base percentage and a 790 OPS with 5 home runs and 28 RBIs, in addition to 20 stolen bases. He struck out 57 times to only 37 walks, so he's shown some decent plate discipline, granted only in 58 games. But, a lot of the scouting reports on him are pretty high. They don't say he has massive power, more gap-to-gap line drive, but he can play the field. He does have wheels. And for a Yankee system that has seen a lot of its top-end talent graduate or be traded off, having some lower-end talent or lower-ranked guys who have some high upside that don't require a 40-man spot is a good play for the Yankees. And I think he's a good asset for our farm system.
Now, Jeremy, do you see him being called up anytime soon by the Yankees? You think they would take a chance on him with that?
I don't believe so this season. Again, he doesn't require a 40-man, and considering the Yankees have a crowded 40-man roster as it is, I don't see them making any move to add him on there. He only played in 58 games at the A level last year.
Yeah.
I see him probably progressing to Double A at best next year, but with the outfield the Yankees currently have on hand, and with the return of Frazier and Ellsbury from injury, I don't see there being any need for him this season, and frankly, I think there are probably a few other players ahead of him on the pecking order.
Yeah, I agree. He's kind of just seems like a shot in the dark almost.
Like a throw-in?
Yeah, kind of just like you said, to free up a spot on the 40-man. I think it makes sense from that perspective. It's not like Shed Long was going to come up anyway, most likely, so I think it's fine, honestly. And I think you're also right that it benefits all sides here. I think the Yankees benefit, Gray benefits, and the Reds benefit because the splits for Gray, like you kind of pointed out, he can still pitch, like you said. Since the Yankees got him 88 innings at home, he had his ERA well over 6, which was the real issue with Gray. He gave up 19 homers, but on the road in 107 innings, his ERA was under 3, and he only gave up 6 homers. So it shows he can still pitch, just not at Yankee Stadium, like you said.
Just didn't work out.
Right, and I think it's also important to note that it was not a secret to the league that Sonny Gray was available. Brian Cashman made that abundantly clear at his end of the year press conference. So to be able to acquire what he did acquire for Sonny Gray, and I believe was a solid haul. And it does end up being that so we can clear up, the Yankees do get last year's 54th overall pick, who is Josh Stowers, in addition to the 36th selection in the 2019 draft for Gray, who, again, they wanted to trade, and also a very low-level left-handed pitcher, Ryver San Martin, who is basically a non-prospect that the Yankees also threw in.
Yeah, I saw him. I saw he was thrown in. I didn't know anything about him either.
Yeah, he doesn't move the radar. I mean, he struggled in the low minors last year. Lefty pitcher, but not much to get excited about. So I think more just of a throw-in for roster purposes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so I think we got everything from the Gray trade. I think we viewed that deeply. So Adam Ottavino signs for 3 years, $27 million. I know you like this move too. I'm pretty sure most Yankee fans like this. So give us your spin on Ottavino.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, I love this move. He was a breakout candidate last year. He is a little old. He's 33 years old, but with relievers, they seem to age better. He was phenomenal. I mean, he had an ERA of 2.43 in over 77 innings pitched. The fifth backed that up with a 2.74, and he had ludicrous strikeout numbers, 13 strikeouts per 9, with 4.2 walks per 9. The issue, obviously, with Ottavino is that this is the first year in which he's put up these kind of elite numbers.
Yeah.
Last year, he had a bit of a down year with an ERA over 5, and he had over 6 walks per 9. However, there has been flashes of this talent before. This isn't necessarily a one-hit wonder as much as it is a sustained year of success.
Okay.
So there is a lot to dream on with Ottavino, and if his stuff does play up, and again, he's a New York native, I think he'll be fine in New York City.
Yeah.
This could just be a perfect replacement for Robertson.
Yeah, I think it's a good replacement for D-Rob as well, because I think he's more of a strikeout guy, and he can put you away better. Robertson kind of struggled at times. I felt like he would get hit hard, you know what I mean? If Ottavino's on, I feel like he's better.
Agreed. I do, and it does maintain the superior dominance of the Yankees bullpen, which seems to be a very differentiating factor between New York and Boston in this upcoming season.
Oh yeah,
so
that's huge.
Too.
That's huge. We gotta hope that's the difference right there, especially if we don't end up getting one of the big bats, which we'll get into a little bit later. But the bullpen disparity is definitely in our favor for sure. But it was last year too. Although they'll lose Kimbrel, hopefully that's a big thing that's been reported. Dave Dombrowski said that he doesn't really want to pay him that much, so it looks like he won't go back there unless it's on their terms. What do you think? What do you think happens to Cat Kimbrel? Where do you think he'll end up?
I mean, with him, it's tough. I mean, he was initially starting off the offseason asking for a $100 million contract, which, based off his career stats, I believe he was entitled to get. It was ambitious to begin with, as he was already older entering free agency.
Yeah, I agree.
Free agency than Aroldis Chapman, who only signed for 86. I do think he's going to end up having to sacrifice some years in order to achieve the premium annual salary that he wants.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I can easily see him achieving a 3-year deal worth somewhere in the neighborhood of a little less than $60 million. And I think the Braves look like an ideal landing spot for him. If the price comes down enough, they would gladly swoop in and get him to bolster the back end of that bullpen, which is maybe one of the few weak spots on that team.
Yeah, I think that he could end up with them or Philly. I think is in a good spot to get him as well if the Red Sox don't get him back. I think the Philly's still out there. They haven't really made the huge move yet. They've made some nice moves with Segura. I think they got something else too. I'm trying to think what else. There was Segura. What else did Philly do?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. They made a ton of moves.
Yeah, they did. I'm just drawing a blank right now for some reason.
I know.
McCutchen too. McCutchen and D-Rob.
Right,
there we go. That's most of it right there. I'm sure there was some other stuff, but those are like the big three that they got basically.
Right, agreed, yeah.
And they got rid of Santana too. He's not on there anymore, so.
Right, which is big, as Reese Hoskins was an utter failure in the field.
Yeah, he has to be at first base. I agree with that, but.
Correct, yeah.
So the Yankees for a sec, I kind of want to go over our whole off-season additions with you, and I want to see like how you put this. So James Paxton, we got Happ, CC re-signed Gardner, we got rid of Sonny Gray, DJ LeMahieu, Adam Ottavino, re-signed Zach Britton, Tulowitzki, a lot of moving parts here. I think it adds up to around $75 million spent, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, yes, it's around that number. The Yankees, with all the rumors flying with the Yankees in the top end of the market, it seems as if the flurry of activity they have done has flown a bit under the radar. It's been an interesting offseason, to say the least. I think the Yankees fans have really been pushing for the focus to be on Machado or Harper.
Yeah.
While Cashman has obviously been addressing the bigger needs with the rotation and shoring up the middle infield, at least temporarily until Didi Gregorius can come back from injury.
Yeah, I think you're right. You hit the nail on the head of that, in my opinion. We've been clamoring for the big two as well. I mean, I think most of us are as fans. I understand what they're doing, like trying to shore up everything else. And I mean, they're still out there, so it's still possible we end up with one of them. Who knows?
Right, so the latest signing, and the one I think we're probably getting to, the DJ LeMahieu signing, I think likely forecloses the Machado pursuit. I wouldn't necessarily say the door is shut, but it would have to be a perfect situation, and on the Yankees' term, I believe at this point, for Machado to be in pinstripes next year.
I agree with that, too. I was kind of thinking the same thing once they got DJ. I was kind of thinking the door was closed, too. But like you said, if it's somehow in their terms, like less dollars, less years, maybe, something like that, or if they somehow flip Andujar for an ace, do you think that's still on the table, a Corey Kluber-type deal, or do you think that's a pipe dream at this point?
I don't believe it's realistic that we'll see Andujar move before the start of the season.
Okay.
The Kluber talks seem to have been quieted, and it looks like the Indians are more likely to hold on to him for the upcoming season than move him. And even if they were, I believe that the asking price would be still too much for the Yankees to want to go for. I do think they want to give Andujar every chance to lock down the third base job and at least show that he can improve on his defense. At worst, I mean, the first base position is still unsettled. Luke Voigt had a great end of the year, but it's not been proven over the long haul.
Right.
Had an inability to stay healthy. So if at worst Andujar's defensive struggles continue at third base, they can always move him over the diamond to first base, and they can still enjoy his amazing offensive production. But at this point, I don't see him being moved prior to the season. I think the Yankees' rotation is more or less set. I would likely think that they're probably at least one or two lower-end swingmen / six starters on a low-end major league or minor league deal. Now that Sonny Gray is off the roster, as we don't seem to have a sixth man at this point, it would likely either be Cessa or Domingo Germán. And
well, what about
they haven't necessarily inspired confidence.
Well, what about Loizica? Wouldn't he be the sixth?
He would. I mean, obviously he had a mysterious injury from shoulder issues in the middle of the season, shut him down. So we don't really have an idea, at least based off of reports, where he is health-wise.
Okay,
and I'm not sure whether or not the Yankees are going to try to monitor his workload going forward. So we probably would want at least a little bit more depth. The saying is you can never have enough pitchers, and I fully buy into that.
Yeah, so do
I think there's still a decent amount of depth guys out there that would, sign for a minor league deal or a low-end major one.
Yeah, there's actually some names I want to go through that I'm going to ask you guys, I guess. Let's play a game, I guess. So there's Wade Miley still out there. You got Buckles still out there. Looks like Hellickson, Gio Gonzalez, and then Edwin Jackson. Do you think any of those guys could be the person you're talking about?
Bobby, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, what do you think about those guys?
I honestly, with those guys, I mean, they're second-rate citizens, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, they're just like, they're depth moves. Like, they're six starters, basically. Like, you only want to use them in emergencies. You are right. You're right, though. But do you think we might end up getting any of them?
No. Absolutely not. I wouldn't take a shot on any of them, to be quite honest with you.
So you think we should just stand pat and let the guys in the minors do it, like Germán? I hope not Cessa, maybe Loizica.
Yeah, well, I mean, if there was another way we could try to get a starter, I mean, go do it. But obviously, I mean, it's not going to really happen, unfortunately. Like, we do need one more guy, I think. We're missing that ace. I think Paxton was a good move. I think with CC, we don't know what we're getting out of him this year. So I think we should explore trading, in my opinion, trading Andujar for a pitcher, I think that would be vital. I think it would help us out.
Well, I think it's just hard. It's hard to get that done. I think because the Indians' asking price, I think, is more than it do. I think that's what Germany was trying to tell us, right?
Right, yeah. It seems to have increased in price. I mean, the Dodgers have been the front runners for Kluber the entire offseason, and their offers seem to involve at least the number one prospect in their farm system, and Alex Verdugo, plus another young talent. Just going back quickly to that list of the pitchers you mentioned, I also agree with Bobby. I don't think we're going to get any of them, but I think the reason is going to be different. Unfortunately, I think a lot of those pitchers have pitched well enough last year to warrant a major league deal, and I think aren't going to be signing anybody to a major league deal.
Okay.
Especially with Buchholz, Gio Gonzalez, and Wade Miley all had. Well, especially Wade Miley and Clay Buchholz had great seasons.
Yeah, those two seem to. Yeah, those are the top two to me out of those guys. How they pitched last year. I mean, Gio fell off. Edwin Jackson maybe could be a minor league deal, maybe, but even he pitched well enough to not get one, probably.
Right, exactly. So I think that it would be somebody that, it's going to be a minor league deal and likely would be battling with Herman or Cessa for that sixth spot.
Yeah, so we'll see how that shakes out, I guess. So, overall, how do you grade the Yankees offseason so far? I know it's incomplete so far. Me and Bobby said that too until it's actually done, but what grade would you give it so far? I was curious to see how you viewed it.
Sure. I think I'd have to give it a solid, B, potentially B+. I know that probably the Yankee fans would want to give it a lot worse grade. However, I do think the value on the signings that we made are exceptional. We were able to get Happ for only 2 guaranteed seasons with an option. LeMahieu is a 2-time Gold Glove winner who is, fits the profile of an elite defender who can play around the infield with good contact and on-base skills, which is needed in a lineup filled with power.
Mm-hmm.
Getting Tulowitzki on a minor league deal, as much of a dart throw that as it is, I feel a lot more comfortable with him as my utility player than Ronald Torreyes going forward.
Yeah, or Neil Walker.
Trade, right, and even with the Paxton trade, I'm not the biggest fan of Paxton. I am concerned of his injury past, but I do think that Sheffield's value was reaching its peak, and I don't think we would have been able to get as far with other teams on potentially better pitchers with Sheffield as the headliner as we were with Paxton from the Mariners. So for the needs that needed to be done, I do think that Cashman has done a very good job. And, obviously it's tough for us to hate on him as a lot of the trades that he's made and the moves that he's made that we've always questioned seem to always work out in the end. So for now, I would say it's a solid B. I would like the Yankees to add, again, a little bit more depth. And obviously if Machado can fall to it, that would be great. But if the Yankees were to go into the season with the roster they currently have, I'd feel very comfortable about it, and I would feel very confident that we aren't going to experience any drop-off, if not improve, over our last season.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would give it a B, B-, because, again, it's just missing, the splash. That's why it's not an A. I think it's a solid B, though. It's been nice moves to build depth, but it hasn't been, there's not, huge star power, like you said. Paxton's a nice 2. He's not an ace yet, unfortunately. He can pitch to an ace level if he stays healthy, I think, but we have to see him actually do it,
Right, and I agree, and I do think, though, that even if Paxton were to somehow fall off a little bit off of his numbers, I think the excess value we receive off of Happ and his performance based off the contract we gave him will more than make up for it. The concern is, I think the big concern going into the season with the Yankees is likely going to be the rotation and how durable that rotation can be.
Yeah, the back end probably, yeah.
Right, Tanaka has been on the DL a couple of times in his season.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, CC is not a lock to stay healthy, nor is Paxton. So being able to sort of cement those kind of longer-term and more stable pieces in the rotation or supplement them with additional minor league depth pieces going forward, I think is probably the last piece of business that the Yankees need to attend to. But again, if the Machado price does come down enough, it would be foolish for the Yankees not to jump in.
I agree with that, too. But my issue is actually less with Machado. I'm actually geared towards Harper now more because we need lefties. I don't like this whole righty dominant lineup right now. Brett Gardner doesn't really have any power anymore and takes us a switch hitter, and everyone else is righties, we play in the stadium. It's built for lefties. We have no lefties, though.
I agree. I would struggle very hard to find a lineup spot and a roster spot for him. Obviously he would be in the everyday lineup, but where are you going to be? You can't bench Hicks, who as he would likely be the one that would be the casualty, but in reality, he had one of the better seasons of Yankee outfielders last year. He provides the most amount of value with his glove and his base running, and he saved us a few games single-handedly with his defense. And also, in addition, having Ellsbury come back, who unfortunately is still under contract, as well as Frazier, who's out of options and is going to have to need a 40-man roster spot. I'm not entirely sure where he fits. And finally, I do think that even after his down year, Harper commands significantly more money than Machado does this year, just purely based on the name value and the brand value.
Right. That's a good question, too. I was curious the dollar figures where they would both get. I guess Harper's value might still be higher, but there hasn't really been any real numbers with Harper, unless that 10 for 300 from Washington is legitimate. Do you think they actually offered him that? Because I'm surprised he hasn't signed it.
Yeah, I do, and I've heard that they've actually increased on that offer. My reading has indicated that they've offered a little bit more than that. However, I still believe the Yankees will, or that Harper will sign for more than the 300 plus that they'll get. As I believe the Phillies or the Dodgers or the Nationals will end up ponying it up. He just brings so much more value to a franchise that's not counted in a box score or in a WAR calculation, that it just increases the value to levels that, it would be tough to quantify for on-field performance, but when you go dive deeper, really does make sense.
Well,
So I think the Yankees are more geared towards Machado.
Yeah, that's what I thought too originally, but my question is there any lefty bat out there we can get? Like, I don't know. I'm not seeing many options for us if it's not Harper. That's the only reason I brought him up, honestly, but I guess the fit would be a little cluttered, but you could DH Giancarlo, if in theory, and you could play Harper in left, maybe.
I mean, that is true, but at the same time, you're also going to be, then you're also confining Gary Sanchez to only having maybe 3 to 4 starts a week, as you wouldn't have the luxury of the DH spot to use him on an off day when Romine is catching.
Yeah, that's the only. I see. And the infield will get cluttered when Didi comes back, too. Without him, it'll be fine, but when he comes back, that infield gets really crowded, too.
Exactly. So, I mean, in terms of left-handed bats, unfortunately, I don't think there's much. I mean, the only other position I would think the Yankees could potentially go after for a left-handed bat would be a corner infield position player.
Moustakas.
There doesn't seem to be much. Carlos Gonzales is still out there, but again, he's another outfielder.
Yeah, he's older, too.
I don't think the Yankees would want him, and, again, agreed, and that's including his, his insane split at course. One potential piece that could be of interest, he is on the trading block, and he probably wouldn't cost a lot to acquire, is Eric Thames from the Brewers. He plays first base and outfield. He's a lefty bat with some power, a lot of strikeout tendencies, but he is available and probably would not cost much, and he provide the Yankees with some versatility by having, a first base / corner outfield eligible player to have on their roster.
And he would be a lefty, which we desperately need, so I wouldn't hate that move if they somehow made it. Right. And he's definitely available, like you said. I mean, the Brewers don't have any space for him. They got Braun, Yelich, and Kane, so where does that leave him? And they got Aguilar first, so it makes sense if they want to move him.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think that in terms of a lefty bat, it would either be, a very minor signing or a more of a trade of that kind of magnitude.
Well, I brought it up before. What do you think about Moustakas? Do you think there's any shot we go down that road?
I wouldn't necessarily say no. The issues I have with Moustakas is that he's a very similar player to Andahar. His defense is better than Andahar's, but he has very worrying on base percentage tendencies, as well as hasn't hit to well average wise.
Yeah.
He doesn't hit for power. He's going to end up being a defensive liability position limited player. I think the Yankees want to go more versatile with their bench. They want players who can play more than one position, potentially multiple positions for each bench spot. So having a guy who is entirely limited to third base and DH, as well as someone who has on base percentage issues, I don't necessarily think is the way that Cashman wants to go with the roster.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Can he also play a little first, too? I don't know how good he is at it, but I thought he could play a little first.
He likely could, but then again, you're also, if you're acquiring Moustakas, then you're also, again, relegating Greg Bird to a more minor role, and I'm not entirely sure the Yankees are ready to give up on him, especially if they're intending to trade him. They'd likely want to feature him and increase his value.
Oh, so you think that's what they're going to try to do? You think they want to try to play Voit and maybe trade Bird if he shows anything next year?
Well, I think the Yankees are going to probably have a truly open competition at first base this year. I think that Luke Voigt definitely warrants a look, but again, there's nothing based off of his career statistics that shows any level of sustainability with this kind of numbers. Greg Bird obviously is very highly touted. The scouts have loved him and always thought he would be the best hitter of the Sanchez, Judge, and Bird, trifecta of prospects. So I do think they're going to give them every opportunity. I could easily see them platooning. And if one player does consistently outperform the other, I could see them moving forward with that individual and then using the other as trade bait to shore up any mid-season roster needs.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out because, like I said, we've been dying for lefties, so they're definitely going to give Bird a shot because he would really help balance the lineup if he somehow could get back to himself, which I'm not counting on by any means, but we'll see.
Right, exactly. And, you got to hope that maybe this year with less pressure on him and the fact that he's not even necessarily slated to have the starting first base job going forward, that relaxed mindset will help him produce more.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, before you go, because I know you're probably running tight on time, I just want to ask you where you think the big guys will end up that are still out there. So, I'll go through some names. Everyone can say where they think, and you could probably be good after that if you want.
Sure.
Okay, so where do you think Dallas Keuchel ends up? We were talking about starting pitchers before, so what do you think?
I think Dallas Keuchel ends up back on the Astros.
Oh, wow.
I think the Astros have lost a significant amount of starting talent. It's important to note that they're the only team that was able to sign him without giving up a qualifying offer.
Oh, is that what the hesitation is from other teams? Is that part of the reason why no one's signing him, you think?
Well, it's a little bit of both. I mean, his numbers slipped a bit, his velocity fell.
Yeah, that's true.
He's never been a strikeout guy.
Yeah, right.
For a lot of teams, that's not necessarily a pitcher. It's the profile of a pitcher that they want to commit $80+ million to.
Yeah.
But I think with the Astros, they realize their window to compete. While it's not anywhere near closing, it's going to get much more expensive as Correa, Bregman, and Springer reach free agency and arbitration.
Yeah.
So I think that they're going to want to go for it, and they've already lost Charlie Morton this year, and they also have Lance McCullers Jr. out for the season with Tommy John.
Yeah.
So they're looking at replacing at least 2 rotation spots. And I think that the Astros are going to likely want to shore up one of them. So I could see Keuchel coming back to the Astros on a deal that, is maybe a little bit less money overall, but potentially a higher average value. And the Astros can use the fact that they wouldn't have to sacrifice a draft pick as leverage to re-sign him.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think he's going to Phillies, personally. I think the Phillies are going to make a move. I think they're going to get him, Kimbrel, maybe both, but they've been saying they want 3. They want Kimbrel, Keuchel, and then they want Harper or Machado. I'm sure you saw that, right?
Right, and I've heard that they even want Kimbrel, Harper, and Trout.
Yes, that too. That's even deeper. Trout, they're definitely eyeing him in free agency. Bobby, where do you think Keuchel ends up?
I honestly feel like Philly is probably the best spot for him. Especially, he did fall from grace.
Yeah, definitely. We all agree on that. He's not the Cy Young or World Series winner anymore. That's for sure.
So
definitely.
So, all right, we talked Cat Kimbrel already. Speaking of Astros, how about Marwin Gonzales? I'm surprised he's still out there, honestly.
I am too. I've heard a lot of teams are in on him. He obviously has a lot of positional flexibility. I really don't have an idea of where he can be. I would probably say my gut feeling is the Braves, as they still need an outfielder.
Right.
And it doesn't seem as if they're much inclined to spend big money on it. So I do think that he could go there, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him sign with almost any team in the league due to his versatility.
Yeah, it's very tough to peg whether his actual spot is. I'm going to throw a random one out. How about White Sox? I just feel like that could end up happening. I feel like they might throw him some money if they whiff on Machado. That's my outside-the-box thought on Marwin.
I think that's a fair guess as well. I mean, they have a ton of money to spend, and their outfielders as a unit were one of the worst in the league last year, so they could easily plug him into left field and be perfectly content.
Yeah, for sure. Bobby, what do you think?
I think he goes to the Braves. I think it makes too much sense.
Oh, all right. So we got 2 Braves, 1 White Sox for him. All right. AJ Pollack has been gaining steam with the Dodgers. Do you think the Dodgers close the deal with Pollack?
I do. I think that Joc Pederson likely will be traded within the next few weeks.
Go to White Sox.
He's a good player, but he's death on. He just can't hit lefties. I think the Dodgers lineup seems to be the opposite of the Yankees lineup. A ton of left-handed power,
Yes.
not a bunch of balance on the right-handed side, and I think they want to address that. Pollack provides great defense. I believe they could likely get him on a 4-year deal, and I think for that value, they'll likely do it, considering how close they've been to winning a World Series. I think at this point, they're going to go as much as they need to in order to secure that World Series trophy.
Yeah, I agree with that. Another thought with that. Do you think they'll end up with Realmuto? What do you think is going to happen with him? Do you think he gets traded? Do you think they keep him? It's so hard to tell with that team.
Well, I mean, every team in the league seems to want him. The asking price on Realmuto so far seems to be astronomical.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
And for the best catcher, it is reasonable. I actually live in the same building as JT Realmuto. He's in the penthouse.
Oh, wow.
I haven't heard anything from him directly, but if I do see him packing bags, I will let you guys know.
That's so funny.
I think he'll be traded.
Wow, I can't believe you live in the same building as him. Small world, I guess.
Yeah, so if I see moving vans, you guys will be the first ones to know.
Yeah, we'll have that inside info. We'll see what's up with that. So, I guess there's not many people left. So, I guess ultimately, do you think we end up with Machado, or where do you think Harper goes? Let's just get to the big two, I guess.
Sure. Well, I think Machado ends up with the White Sox.
Oh, wow.
There's just too much there for him. I mean, of all the teams rumored to be in on him, obviously not including the mysterious mystery team.
I actually have some news on that. Apparently, the Pirates have been reported to be that mystery team, which I don't buy for a second, but apparently Hector Gomez reported that, or some Spanish guy tweeted that, but I don't buy it at all, but I saw it on Twitter today.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Pirates get him unless they can get him for a steal. I do think the White Sox get him. They've made a lot of moves to surround that team with friends and acts.
Yeah, I have noticed the small moves with Alonso and John Jay, yeah.
So I do think that he's going to end up there. I just don't think there's enough suitors. And then in terms of Harper, I think the Phillies are going to end up landing him.
Okay, that makes sense.
Said multiple times that he's willing to spend stupid money to sign one of the two, and I do think that's going to end up happening. But I would not count out the Nationals. I think with Harper, it's a two-man race with the Phillies and the Nats.
That's what it seems, yeah.
Winning that.
Especially because the Dodgers aren't in it. I think, like you said, they have too many lefties. I thought when they did that trade, it was for Bryce Harper. They opened up those outfield spots, but I guess it's for A.J. Pollack. We'll see what ends up happening. So, I'm going to say Harper Phillies I probably agree with, although I wish we would get him, but it probably won't happen. And then I still have a feeling we'll get Machado somehow, because I think when it comes down to it, Yankees and White Sox, if we can make a close competitive offer, I think he would choose us. But we'll see.
Yep. No, I would never count out the Yankees. You never do.
Bobby, what do you think about both of them?
In my opinion, I think that Harper's going to go back to the Nationals, in
Oh,
my opinion.
all right.
I think that, you know what, he really likes it there. I think that he's holding out. Yeah, they gave him a big offer, $300 million. He turned it down. But I think he wanted to see what else everybody will give him. And I think the best bet for him is he's going to go back to Washington. And for Machado, honestly, I just think the writing's on the wall. I still think deep down, I think we're going to get Manny. I think that it just, you know what, it's destiny for him. You know, he wants to be a Yankee. I think he would make us a lot better.
Yeah, I think he still would, for sure.
I think personally that the signing of Tulowitzki was just one of the dumbest moves I've seen. I mean, maybe he could be good for us, I guess, but, you know, Manny Machado is our age. He's 26 years old. Why sign Tulowitzki if we could get Harper for many years? Obviously, I know.
You meant Machado?
Machado, yeah, excuse me.
It's
Sorry.
all good.
Machado, but it's all about youth, but, you know, it's not costing us anything to have Tulowitzki except $550,000.
Yeah, I don't think Tulo prevents us from getting Machado. You could always cut Tulo if you really have to. He didn't cost you anything. But I don't think they will cut him. I think they'll keep him, see if they can get good value out of him. But who knows? We'll see. It's been a crazy offseason. I guess one last thing before we go. What can they do to speed this up? They have to do something about this. Like, we can't go 3+ months having the best players not signed. Like, it just isn't good for the game, in my opinion.
Right. Well, I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that. Scott Boras, in an interview, he's always one for color for close, the other day proposed a number of measures that were aimed for anti-tanking. I use that with air quotes in baseball. Of those proposals included instead of sacrificing a draft pick when you sign a player with a qualifying offer, you actually obtain a draft pick, or you seem to swap draft picks, as well as deterrence for teams that finish winning less than a certain amount of games or spend less than a certain amount of money from obtaining a top 5 draft pick. I think incentivizing teams to go after this talent rather than trying to cost cut and get the best value is likely going to be the way that this will have to go. But based off of the last few off seasons, I don't unfortunately think this will happen or be addressed until the new CBA is up for negotiation and disputed.
That's going to be a shit show, for excuse my lack of a better term, but when that happens, that's going to be really bad. It's not looking pretty. It's going to be a bad stare down, I feel like. So that's in 2 seasons or 3 seasons? I believe 3, right?
I believe so, yes.
So yeah, that's going to be ugly, I feel like. I guess that's where we're heading. That's what it looks like, honestly.
Yeah, and I mean, baseball has enjoyed a prolific history of non-work stoppages. They haven't had a lockout in years. But I do think that this is going to be one of the more contentious bargaining sessions that baseball's had, Major League Baseball's had in quite a while.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's gonna be a stressful time for sure. But at least we have a few more years of good baseball before that happens.
Right.
Right, exactly, and hopefully a few more Yankee World Series.
Yeah,
Yes.
We got to get that World Series back. It's been way too long.
Yes.
Almost back in the Bronx. I agree. But if you're good, we're set. Let me know if you got to go. If you want to stay, you can stay.
Yeah, I do, but I just want to say thank you guys for having me on. You guys put on a great show. I listen to you guys all the time.
Yeah.
Stay warm up there.
My pleasure.
Thanks, I appreciate it. And we'd like to have you back sometime. We'll see what's going on down the line.
Sounds good, definitely.
All right,
Take
see
care,
you
guys.
soon.
See you soon, man.
All right, so we're going to continue. That was Jeremy. We want to thank him for contributing on the show. That was some great conversation, some good Yankee talk, 3 Yankee fans, good times. So, Bobby, I actually want to go into the Hall of Fame voting because this is a hot topic, and I want to get your opinion on this. So, who would you put in the ballot if you were able to vote? I want to know who you would put in. I have 6 people I would put in there. I'll tell you if you want.
Well, yeah, go ahead. You tell
So,
me.
obviously, Mariano Rivera. That's not even a question. I can't believe people even asking that. It's so dumb. Mike Messina, to me, deserves a nod. He was a great pitcher. He didn't get 300 wins, but he finished on top. It's 20 games in his last season. Was right there. He pitched in the steroid era. I think he'll get the nod this year, hopefully. Last year was really, really close, so I hope he gets that upscale and makes it. I also think Edgar Martinez is Hall of Fame worthy as a DH. I know people are hesitant to put the DHs in because they didn't contribute defensively, but this guy was he was a great hitter. He was phenomenal, and he was feared in that batter's box. He was one of the best hitters of his generation, so I think he deserves to go in the Hall of Fame. Also, Roy Halladay, the late Roy Halladay, I think is a Hall of Famer as well. He was dominant. I hated facing him. The Blue Jays, he shut us down every time. When he was with the Phillies too, I believe. So Halladay was nasty. He was dominant. He didn't have 300 wins, but he was one of the best pitchers in the game for a long period of time. And I'm going to say, here's where I'll open up the controversy with Pandora's box. I'm going to do it. Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, get them in there.
Really?
Put them in. I'm saying put them in. You don't talk about baseball without those two. You have the best pitcher, the best hitter of the generations. I know with the steroids and everything. So I'm saying if you put them in, you have to put in everyone. That's what I'll say. And I think they should all go in because there's certain players in the Hall of Fame right now. 3, actually, that draw my attention that could have used steroids, in my opinion. Mike Piazza, Jeff Bagwell, and Ivan Rodriguez have all probably used steroids, most likely, and they're all in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And also, Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens are better than those guys.
Yeah.
So that's why I think they belong in the Hall of Fame.
So
that's what I would do if I had a ballot.
So basically, how it's in my opinion, I think Mariano Rivera is definitely going. He's the first ballot. If you see all the results, it's 100%. Mariano Rivera, arguably the greatest closer of all time, which he is. So get him in there. I think that I'm going to agree with you. Rest in peace, Doc Roy Halladay. He was one of the greatest pitchers in the MLB. He was very, very... He had a great, I think, what was it, sinker he had? He had a really good...
Yeah, he had some cutters, too. He had some dominant stuff.
It's really it's a shame what happened to him, but he's
Yes,
going to get
it's
his
very
due.
sad.
He's going to get his due diligence.
Hopefully he gets it first ballot. But even if he doesn't get it this time, he'll make it. He'll definitely get in there. But from what I've seen so far, it looks like he will make it. And it looks like Bonds and Clemens are gaining momentum too.
Yeah.
That's why. And next year is their last year on the ballot. So what do you think about the other guys I was talking about? Edgar Martinez, Bonds, Clemens, all the steroid guys. What's your take on it? Go ahead.
Well, here's what I say. I think that, Barry Bonds, yes, he took steroids. It's no
secret, really.
It's no secret. But listen, the guy was definitely one of the greatest hitters in baseball.
Yeah.
And listen,
he was very feared too.
Yes, he took steroids. I understand that, but he also is the all-time home run king. So you got to put him in there. You know what? You got to get over it with it. Sometimes you got to swallow your pride. The guy was a great baseball player, and even before steroids, he was still a great baseball player.
That's the
thing. Only thing is, the one thing with Barry Bonds is, listen, everybody doesn't talk about before when he got huge.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. When he was
on the Pirates,
wasn't he fast?
He was a 40-40 guy.
Yeah.
It was Alfonso Soriano, Alex Rodriguez, I believe Willie Mays. I think are still the only four to ever get that. Jose Canseco, I think, got it too, maybe.
Yeah.
Actually, Soriano whipped, I think, but you know what I mean. He was a 40-40 guy. He was that good. I think Alex may have been too, but regardless of that, yeah, you're right. And also, Roger Clemens was similar, too. Before he started taking steroids, he was also one of the better pitchers as well.
Of course.
But they still cheated. They shouldn't have done steroids. I'm not condoning that, but I still think they were still gifted. It was a shame they had to do that. They didn't really have to, honestly, in my opinion. But, it's just one of those things that some people won't accept. I understand that. I'm not going to try to change anyone's viewpoint. It's just that it's a gray area to me because there are people in the Hall of Fame that have probably used steroids. That's why you have to be completely fair with this. You can't be biased when it comes to this.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of the other guys, like the Sosas, McGuires, I don't know if they'll ever make it, but Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds, I think they'll get it in. Even if they don't this year, I think next year they will.
Roger Clemens, definitely, I think so too at some point. Also, I'm going to tell you this. I think Andy Pettitte makes it this year. I think.
Oh, wow. That'd be a stunner. Do you think he should make it?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think
the guy's a proven winner. He's a proven winner. He's got the best pickoff move in baseball.
Yeah, he did.
Literally
one of the best playoff pitchers ever.
But yes, and that's what's going to get him in. I think, in my opinion, he needs to be put in. Listen, he took HGH. What did he do? He admitted it. Do we care? No.
Yeah, he seems to have been a little. Yeah, he seems to get a little more remorse because he admitted it.
What was that report? What was that back in the day? The report where everyone who had steroids in baseball.
Mitchell report.
Thank you. I was going to say the Wells report, but that's that jackass that tried this for Brady. So that's
I believe it was the Mitchell report.
The Mitchell report. Yes, thank you.
And the whole thing with Victor Falco and the bounty and the. What was that? Balco or whatever.
That's A-Rod, isn't it? Right?
No, I think that was Bonds too. Maybe A-Rod was also with that, but Barry Bonds had a lot with that. But yeah.
But Andy Pettitte needs to go in. Also, this list of people who are debuting on here, you got. I think Roy Oswalt is pretty good. I think Travis Hafner definitely has to get a look, in my opinion.
I don't think he did enough over a long period of time.
Can I be honest with you? Who needs to make it? I'm sorry, you could disagree with me. I think Kevin Youkilis needs to make it.
Oh wow!
Kevin Youkilis was on the Red Sox. He was durable. He was very clutch. He's a champion. They don't call him the Greek god of walks for nothing.
That's true.
So the thing is, he had a great on base percentage. Of course, he's related to the greatest quarterback of all time, Tom Brady, if you didn't know that.
Oh, Jesus.
So
I don't want him in now.
He's the brother.
Actually, I never want him in anyway. But.
So, listen, Kevin Youkilis was a Yankee, man. We paid him $12 million for 1 year.
Yeah, but he sucks when you had him.
No, he was all right.
Yeah, he was very mediocre.
So,
he had 219, but that's a whole other story. Honestly, he was a good Red Sox as much as I hated him.
You know what? Seeing all these people, I'm going to tell you this. You know what? I'm going to agree with you. Mike Messina definitely does need to make it on. Sammy Sosa, no. I think Gary Sheffield, I think he did enough.
Yeah, he's also enough. I think they're very, I think he might have
Billy Wagner.
Too. Yeah, some people have voted for Wagner. I don't think he needs to get in right now. I think maybe over time.
Billy Wagner He used to copy Mo with Enter Sandman, right?
I think so, yeah.
Oh my God.
I also think Larry Walker, Jeff Kent, Todd Helton should get in down the line.
Todd Helton was the guy from the Rockies.
Yeah, that good first baseman. He was
Edgar Martinez, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Manny Ramirez, not right now. I agree.
Yeah, Manny's got some time.
But here's the thing. I don't know if Manny will make it, though.
He's a steroid guy, too. He used for sure. So he's another
how many
one.
World Series he won? Just 2?
He has those 2, I believe.
7 and...
no, 4, I think. So, yeah. Also, there's one other guy that's a very controversial figure, Curt Schilling. What are your thoughts on him?
Curt Schilling? Okay.
I really don't like him, but if you want to be fair about it, I would probably put him in, I guess.
Let's put it this way. Curt Schilling...
I'm very biased towards Curt Schilling. I'm not going to lie.
Curt Schilling won the World Series.
He ripped our hearts out twice.
Yeah.
That's why I hate him.
So he won the World Series
in 2001 with the Diamondbacks.
Yep.
And then with the bloody sock bull crap that still makes me sick to this day. So, but based off that alone, almost the bloody sock is almost Hall of Fame worthy in itself, sadly. That's how ridiculous that moment was. But he was a great pitcher. He was a postseason. He was lights out. I mean, he didn't get 300 wins, but I would probably put him in there or make him sweat a little bit because I don't like him.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever been that biased before, but I just don't like Curt Schilling at all.
Well, everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Yeah, so that's for the Hall of Fame talk. Let's see. We can have some minor stuff for baseball, and then we'll probably get it packing about. So the Diamondbacks signed Wilmer Flores to a 1-year deal. The former Met's now gone, and he had looks like 70 RBIs, 26 homers. No, that can't be true. What is this that I'm looking at? Okay, that's something else. So Wilmer Flores did not do that. Yeah. He had 11 homers, 51 RBIs, and hit 267. There we go. And his WAR was 0.5. My numbers all crossed up. But, yeah, not so crazy. Like we mentioned, Joc Pederson's on the trade market. Might be going to the White Sox. A.J. Pollack could be close with the Dodgers. Also, here's an interesting trade potentially brewing. The Dodgers and Starlin Marte, an outfielder who's very good for the Pirates. He's only 30 years old. He posted a 3.7 WAR, hit 277 at 20 homers, 72 ribbies, and stole 33 bases. So he's very versatile, could do a couple of different things, and that would be a good trade if the Dodgers were able to maneuver that. I'm not sure why the Pirates would even give him up, but it's the Pirates, so I don't know what they're doing half the time. Yeah, that's not too surprising. And then apparently there's interest in Sean Kelly, the 35-year-old. Adam Warren still floating out there. Justin Wilson. Those are relievers that are still out there we haven't mentioned. And we basically hit on all the free agents. I just want to say one last thing. Actually, there's a couple. Longoria made a statement about how the players aren't getting paid and all this and that. I'm sure you saw that. What did you think of what he said?
Well, he's just speaking up for the players.
I think he's part of the Players Association as well.
Yeah, so he's just saying what's on his mind. He's speaking the truth. You know, there's a problem with it. The stars should have been signed at the start of free agency. We shouldn't even be having these discussions. So I feel that, you know, what he said has merit to it.
They also, speaking of him, the Giants may also be looking to trade him. Did you see that?
I did.
And that makes sense because his contract's not great. He's an older player. They are going nowhere fast. Like we've mentioned a million times, Bumgarner will be traded by the trade deadline. I'm almost positive.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be stunned if he was with the Giants past the trade deadline.
Yeah.
But they're not going to trade him in the offseason because his value is not where they want it. So he'll start the season with the Giants.
Yeah.
So now there's one great point one of my Twitter followers made that should make us happy about the state of the Yankees rotation. I'm going to end on a positive note. So Joseph Randazzo, I want to say is the guy's name. I don't know his handle, but I pointed out he made a great tweet when he made it. So he's saying we need to relax with the rotation. That will be fine because we had 259 innings last year from Luis Cessa, Domingo Germán, and Sonny Gray. And we still won 100 games.
Yeah.
So now you get rid of that. You get 337 innings from Paxton and Happ. I think you could improve a couple games based off that.
Yeah.
That could be a huge difference right there.
That's very true.
Because we're going to have Happ for the full season. I know some people, like Jeremy said, the Happ deal was great. Some people are like, oh, we just brought him back in Britain. But it's different because you're going to have these guys for full seasons now. You're not just getting them for half a season, so they can contribute for the whole year. And that can make a big difference because early on the Yankees were struggling. They lost a lot of games that those two could have helped potentially.
Yeah.
So, I guess my last question will be, before we head off, Bobby, if the season started today and you project the Red Sox, you project the Yankees, let's pretend Kimbrel doesn't go back to Boston. Let's pretend we get no one else. How do you see it playing out? What win totals do you have around?
How
do you think it's going to go down?
My personal opinion, I think that we made some decent moves with our bullpen, making it the unstoppable force.
Definitely the best in baseball.
Yes.
You could say it.
Yeah.
It easily is.
But in my opinion, what we did is minor to what the Red Sox have. I think we're playing from behind with Boston. I'm just going to be real.
Okay.
So, and personally, I think that bullpen really helps. However, I think Boston has way too much talent on offense. And also we need to have our pitching staff really just get them out. Early in the season last year, we played exceptionally well against Boston.
Yeah, we did. You're right.
Especially at home.
Right.
So
Good point.
With that, we can win. We can beat Boston. Boston is not inseparable. They're not the Golden State Warriors, and they are definitely not the New England Patriots. So
no, it's not that crazy, thankfully, in my opinion.
The Boston Red Sox, you got to give credit where credit's due. They are the reigning defending champions.
They had a great season.
And it's going to be tough
to get them.
To get them. But however, I do think that we are building the block
right direction.
up, to get back the division, which is ours. So. In my opinion, we're playing from behind with Boston. We need to really. Everyone has to stay healthy. Pitching really has to be on point.
You're going to need Sanchez to rebound. You're going to need to see if Luke Voigt's a real player. Mm-hmm. You're going to need Severino to get back to himself. Paxton to stay healthy. There's a lot of things, like you said, if we don't change anything else. So, in my opinion, it's really close. I think the Red Sox are going to regress. You're not going to see 108 wins again. I'm going to knock them down to around 98, 99 wins. I think they fall off drastically. I think the World Series hangover is real. You haven't seen a team repeat since the Yankees have done it, so I don't think they're going to do it either. And I think the Yankees will be right around 100 games again, maybe even... I'm going to give us a 104, 103 estimation. Okay. I think we're going to improve because also the one thing we didn't mention that we both believe in, the Giancarlo bounce back is real. And if that happens, I think that's more wins as well. So if you look at the additions, Ottavino instead of Robertson, we think that's a home run.
That's an upgrade.
And Paxton instead of the garbage I told you before. It's
Major
really good.
Upgrade.
Those can make the difference right there. Mm-hmm. And if Sanchez bounces back, and a couple other things go our way, I think we could be division champs, even if we don't get Machado or Harper. But that's not to say I don't want them. It's not to say I'm content to stay back. Because I still do want one of them. And Harper makes more sense to me still because the crowded outfield is not really a thing to me. You could send Ellsbury back, and you could always trade Frazier, in my opinion. You can make space for Bryce Harper. It's Bryce Harper.
Yes.
And what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say if we get one of those guys, I really think that
we should be World Series favorites at that point.
Then Boston is second rate to us.
Yes, exactly. That's the big thing. Right now, it's hard.
They have more talent
on offense. I agree with you.
But we have
our bullpen's better. Their starting rotation's probably better still.
In my opinion, I think that Mookie Betts is better than
Judge.
I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say they're equal.
They are pretty close.
I think JD Martinez has proven
he's better than Giancarlo, obviously.
Yes, he is.
Unfortunately, Giancarlo's got to get that back. He's better wake up this year because JD dusts him, obviously.
I think, in my opinion, our infield is much better than theirs. I think I think Didi's better than Bogarts, in my opinion.
And when he's healthy, I would agree with that, too.
I think that,
They don't really have a second baseman still. Pedroia is on his last legs. I don't even know. They're going to try to play him, I think, but I don't even know how much he has
left. What's their
catching
situation?
Exactly. Ours is still better than theirs, even though Christian Vasquez hit that stupid
and
home run
also, I hate
brain.
to say this, I think their starting rotation is a tad bit.
No, I said their starters are better. I mean, they still have Chris Sale. I mean, David Price kind of pitched well, unfortunately. He redeems himself as much as we beat him up. We still own him, but he got over his postseason demons besides us last year.
Yes,
so I got to give him credit for that. And he is a very good regular season pitcher. He always has been.
Mm-hmm.
So Evaldi is going to be the interesting thing. If he falls back and isn't as good as he was last year, that's going to be an issue for them. So hopefully he folds back into the average pitcher he normally is and not the amazing pitcher he was last year.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a big thing. But Rick Porcello, you know you're getting with him. That's a solid third pitcher. And Eduardo Rodriguez is a wild card, so we'll see what happens. But I think that's all we have time for today. We'll see what happens next week. We had some big news with the Yankees today. Ottavino and Gray gone. Moves are being made. We're maybe one big move away from really definitively saying we're the World Series favorites.
Yes, we are.
So, for GNT Sports Talk, I'm Julian Gallardi.
I'm Bobby Thompson.
And we'll see you next week.